As we head towards the festive season, one of the nation's most beloved Christmas chocolates has yet again fallen victim to the dreaded shrinkflation, not just the Premier League, but now chocolates.
Yes, it's true. A tub of Quality Street, along with Freddo's, instant coffee and even Gaviscon have all been highlighted by Which as increasing in price but shrinking in size. The consumer platform is now backing calls for legislation to be amended so supermarkets have to tell shoppers when they're paying more for less.
And joining us now is Sarah Hall, the manager of Temper Chocolate in Kent, which has recently had to put up the price of their chocolate bars. And consumer reporter Raya El Salahi. And we're going to speak to Sarah in just a moment, but first...
Raya, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you very much. We've got some products, haven't we, here that have been used to show how things are changing on our supermarket shelves. So just talk us through what we have here. People might not notice the difference, so it's worth flagging up in each case, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed. So I've brought my weekly shop along with me this morning. Right. And if you take a look at these products, on the face of it, all look pretty similar. But actually, this demonstrates the underhand tactic by which manufacturers make profit by shrinking the size of the products that you buy. So this is shrinkflation, or what I like to call greedflation. So here we have a pack of Freddo chocolate bars, a multi-pack. And if you're a family of 5, there was a time that you would have bought this and had one chocolate for each family member.
Yes.
But they've reduced the size of the packs. There are now 4 chocolates. And so you'd think, well, that must mean that it costs less. Actually, no, you're paying on average around 25% more for this multi-pack, which is £1.40, and has stayed that price despite the number of chocolates you get reducing. Now, if you're going to the shop to buy your toothpaste, chances are you're not spending a huge amount of time fretting over which one you're going to buy.
Yes,
but
just before, sorry, let me just say, because we've got a right of reply from all of these manufacturers. So on the situation with Freddo's, the Cadbury's, Mondelez International say they've reduced the size of the multi-pack so they don't have to compromise on taste in a difficult financial environment. So a lot of the manufacturers are talking about the ingredients price having gone up as a reason why they've had to do this, aren't they?
Yeah, and of course, chocolate...
I'm not sure I fully understood what that statement meant.
Well, they say they've reduced the size so they don't have to, because otherwise they'd have to change.
Taste.
Otherwise they'd have to change the ingredients of
I
what's
see,
put
to
in.
make it less chocolatey.
Because some manufacturers obviously are reducing the amount of chocolate and now calling things chocolate flavoured, aren't they, rather than actually it still
It's an argument.
And this is, well, this is
chocolate.
an example of what we call skimpflation. So they're skimping on the quality of the ingredients in your product. In fact, chocolate is perhaps a little bit of a different example because the price of cocoa has risen a huge amount. In fact, one of the most expensive products in terms of rice.
What about toothpaste then?
Well, if we move on to toothpaste, as I said, you're not going to spend a huge amount of time in the shops looking at the detail of your toothpaste tub. But actually, the price of your toothpaste has increased by about 105%. If you look at these two products, one of them is 100ml, the other one is 75ml. Well, you'd assume the smaller toothpaste would cost less. That would make sense. In fact, it's the opposite. So £1.30 for the 100ml and £2 for the 75ml product. So you are paying more for less, and this is shrinkflation.
You've really got to check the small print on this, haven't you? Haleon, which makes Aquafresh, say prices fluctuate for a variety of reasons. They say they work hard to make their products as affordable as possible. What have we got next, then?
OK, moving on. If you are in need of Gaviscon, chances are the last thing that you're doing is spending a huge amount of time in the supermarket checking the label. But what we found here is shrinkflation is seeing the cost of this product stay the same, £14 in most shops, and the size of that product...
Is that what it costs?
A lot of money. Gosh. Yeah, it's a lot of money. And the price of that product has actually increased by 20%. So instead of getting the 600ml product you'd assume was always the case, you're now getting 500 millilitres for the same price. This is another example of the profit margins of the manufacturers of these products going up while consumers are being squeezed out of more money.
OK, and just to say, Reckitt Benckiser Healthcare, which make Gaviscon, did not reply when we asked them for a comment.
They were indisposed.
Take a look at, maybe they were, they had other matters to deal with. The coffee situation then, what's happening there?
Yeah, so incredibly widespread a tactic is shrinkflation. And what we've seen with this brand of coffee, once again, like most of the products that we've demonstrated this morning, it doesn't look any different. You look as though you're getting exactly the same amount of coffee in the jar, but actually the cost has increased by almost 20%. For a 200-gram jar of coffee, you're paying £5.90, and for 10 grams less, so 190 grams, you're paying £7. That's a cost increase, as I said, by almost 20% on exactly the same product, but with less in it.
And again, Nestlé, who make Nescafe, say they had to adjust the weight of some of their products due to the rising cost of coffee.
Which is equivalent to saying fair cop, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, they're just sort of saying they've had to do it because, of course, haven't they? Come on to the quality street, then obviously the countdown to Christmas. This is the one that people may well be thinking about buying shortly.
Well, this is the thing that I think really demonstrates the underhand and misleading tactic of shrinkflation, because we all remember having the quality street box over Christmas. The whole family could perhaps enjoy it, depending on how sweet a tooth you had, perhaps until the end of Boxing Day. But we've all noticed there seems to be less in the box. And this is the thing about shrinkflation, that it is this misleading, underhand way of companies squeezing more out of their consumers without being really clear. So with the box of Quality Street, we've seen a cost increase in real terms by more than 25%. You would have paid £6 for a 600-gram box. You're now paying £7 for a 550-gram box. So more money, a cost increase, while the amount you're getting has decreased.
And Nestlé, who make Quality Street, say their pricing is competitive, and they say they bring out a new chocolate in different sizes based on the cost of manufacturing, ingredients and transport, which I think means we've made the boxes smaller and put up the per sweet price. I mean, so essentially admitting it.
So to speak, exactly. And I think there have also been lots of underhand tactics in which we've seen some manufacturers claim, well, you were just bigger when you were younger.
There's also fewer strawberries as well, which is really, really
well, listen, thank you for talking us through all of that. Let's go over to Sarah Hall. She's the manager of Temper Chocolate in Kent. Good morning to you, Sarah. So can you tell us more about shrinkflation from the business side of things, and then, you know, the pressure on companies to do this? And I guess there's sort of a right way of doing it and a wrong way, in a sense, isn't there? Because a lot of these companies are not flagging up the differences.
Yeah. So for us, because we're quite a small business, it's had a huge impact on us. But what we've tried to do is keep our costs fair. We've not shrunk anything, we've not tried to change anything, we've not changed our chocolate, but we've had to increase it, obviously, because of the price of the chocolate going up. But we've tried to keep everything as fair and honest as we can. We've definitely not shrunk anything.
So when you answer our question, Sarah, you say costs have gone up, it's really hard, and therefore we've made our product slightly smaller. We might put our price up a little bit, but that's the fairest way to do it. That seems to be a very straightforward answer to the question. Why do you think all of these big businesses, these global conglomerates, give such complicated answers which make it so much harder to understand what they're really doing?
Well, I think for people like Cadbury's and that, it's easier for them. They're a much bigger company, so to shrink it slowly, and they've definitely been doing it over time. It's not been recently. I mean, we were only looking yesterday at the size of a Curly Wurly, for instance, and I remember Curly Wurly being nearly the length of my arm when I was younger, and now they're tiny. So they've been shrinking over a period of years, whereas with the increase, a lot of companies like ourselves, we've had to do it very quickly over the past 2 years. It's not easy to do for us at all, where it's so much easier for the bigger corporations.
Yeah. And Sarah, what kind of reaction do you get from customers then? Because are they sort of resistant to the price difference? Are they then saying, hold on a second, this is more than I was paying a little while ago? Or do they understand the fact that your costs are going up, therefore they've got to be passed on?
I mean, most of the people that come back to us have been coming to us for a long time, so they all understand. We've had no negative feedback. We've been very honest. We've sent out emails to explain why. All of our farm shops that we supply have all had several emails over the past couple of years, so they all understand as well. So most people, we've had no negative feedback from anybody, really. I think most people kind of understand, whereas I suppose people that are buying Cadbury's and Nestlé and Quality Street and everything, they are angry at the cost of buying a box for Christmas. They've gone up and the boxes have got smaller, whereas it's not so much the case for us.
Rhea, Sarah's being really straightforward about what they're doing. Do you think these big companies think they can get away with it, try to pull the wool over our eyes by just not being straightforward about what they're doing?
She used the term honest. We're being honest with our customers, which is key here. We look into the impact of the rising cost of chocolate, for example, due in part to climate change, something we look at regularly on the show I host for CGTN Europe. And the problem is, this is not an issue that is going to go away. In parts of Europe, France, for example, there has been legislation to ensure that you are being told as a consumer if shrinkflation is an issue. That's not currently happening in the UK, and it's the underhand tactic by which customers feel as though they're being lied to that's really the problem here.
OK, well, listen, thanks very much for talking us through all of that, Raya. And also, Sarah, thanks very much to you for joining us this morning. And I guess one of the things is, isn't it, is making sure you look at the unit price. I know it makes shopping a little less exciting, doesn't it? But look at the small print and then you can see exactly what you're getting for your money and how that differs.
I'm going to take it much more seriously now because I don't think I'd realised quite how big the rises are. You know, I think Mars bars used to be much bigger when I was little, but I assumed that was because I was little. Yeah. But it turns out they've actually made them smaller.
The key is to be a geek and to take your calculator.
There you go, you see.
And check the unit price.
Exactly. Just to say, the British Retail Consortium, they represent all the supermarkets we have mentioned during this chat, say all items are clearly labelled so customers can make informed decisions, and that for branded goods, changes to size and price link are mostly set by the brands themselves. So now you know.